What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How y'all doing? Welcome to another edition of In the Blender with your host, Shake Money. I got a great guest, my fellow Finn's tailgate brother, KP, is joining me this week. We're gonna talk about how he became a fan. We're gonna talk a little fishing. We're gonna talk about last year's team. You know how we do every week. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a drink, smoke, and let's rock out, baby. I'll be back.
I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
So as I preview, um, this next guest, I heard him on a lot of platforms. This guy, I love listening to him talk. He's very articulate. I like how he presents his arguments, and I could listen to him talk about pretty much anything, man. This guy, he is one of the brightest minds in this fan base. It's not even an opinion; it's a fact. He is a very bright man, and I am lucky to call him a friend. My big brother, Mr. KP, in the building. What's going on, KP?
Yo, whoa. Got an echo there. Yo. What's going on, Shake, man? Shake Zilla?
What's going on, man?
None, man. Happy to be in
What's
the place,
going
man.
on?
Finally, I made it. I feel like I made it in life. I'm in the blender.
That's what's up, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on here, man. Like I said before, man, uh, whenever we were in spaces and whatever the subject was, man, I love listening to you talk, man. You're very, you know what I'm saying? You know what the fuck you're talking about, you know?
Not really, man, but I'm from a long line of shit talkers, man. We go back generations, dude. I'm from the Caribbean, man. If there's one thing we can do is we talk a lot of mess.
Fake it till you make it.
75% of it is true, though.
Yeah,
75%. The other 25%, you gotta.
So what part of the Caribbean you from?
Me, well,
Right, hooked up Joe.
listen, I was born in the Bahamas, right? But I'm from a multi points of the Caribbean family, man. I grew up in Barbados.
Good rum
But
there.
that family from Antigua, the other family's from Guyana. So it's hard for me to answer that question. Should be simple. But anyway, it is what it is, man. Yeah, so I represent the Caribbean, bro. I'm like many other South Floridians. My families came in the 80s, that big tremendous rush of Latin Americans into the United States. We were part of that. I was 10 years old, came in, and the Dolphins were the ish at the time, Give me 1 second. Let me readjust this thing here. When we moved to the United States from Barbados, the Dolphins were one of the more dominant teams in the league. We had just drafted a young quarterback from Pittsburgh that captivated me and captivated millions of others, Dan Marino. Mark Clayton was like my favorite player at the time. I didn't know much about football, but I quickly learned because of all the excitement here in Miami, going to school, learning the sport. Coming from the Caribbean, I had been exposed to greatness through West Indian cricket. The West Indian cricket team at the time was the world's best team, and I had grown up watching them face England, face Australia, face India, and destroy those teams. And I was proud of it. And for me, it was like moving from one great team to another with that Dolphins team of the mid 80s. Sorry if I was long-winded, but I think that would be the Caribbean background I bring to the
What's
Dolphins.
going on, Michael K? One less scumbag. What are you talking about? I think he's talking about O.J. Simpson, the greatest Buffalo player in history.
Yeah, hey, well, hey, that's right. First
Yeah,
back to run for 2,000 yards. First running back to run for 2,000 yards in NFL history. Also, say what you want about OJ's post NFL career, but he went on. He almost broke the barrier in terms of crossing over. I know Jim Brown did it before him, but crossing over from NFL superstardom to stardom in movies, as a commentator, he kind of broke ground there. So he's a pioneer in many different ways, including being the first black man to murder a white person, get away with it. So he's a pioneer.
By the way, this weekend, in memory of OJ, I'm going to be watching all 3 Naked Gun movies.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, and then remember the commercial where he was hurdling over the luggage trying to catch the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. OJ, man. Like before, listen. I don't know how old you are, Shake. I'm 48, right? Going to be 49 this year.
I got somebody here for you, man. I'm here
Scandala, my brother. Scandala, Wagwan, my youth. Yeah, so yeah, man. I mean, I remember OJ for years as a personality. I never got to see him play, but he was a big time personality in the United States, all the way up through that controversy, with the murder trial and all that. Up until the white Ford Bronco, OJ was one of the most highly visible and successful, post-career athletes in the United States. He was everywhere. He was even in the movie, like you said, Naked Gun. I remember him in Roots. You know what I'm saying? He was in Roots. He put Kunta Kinte in a headlock, a young teenage Kunta Kinte. So
OJ. I remember him calling. Remember the Bears, the Bears when we beat the Bears undefeated.
Yeah.
He was a color commentator.
Yeah, him and Joe Namath were calling the game. Talk about 2 controversial greats. I remember I watched that game live, man. I was at my cousin Robbie's house up in your neck of the woods, Shake, up in Norland when we watched that game, dude.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, man.
Simpson is the reason I drive a Chevy.
Listen, man.
But anyway, enough of Bills talk.
Well, hold on. One more OJ fact. When I went to high school at Killian High School, right? Played a little football there too, and just so happens OJ Simpson's house was right across from Ron Eman Park, which is the park right next to Killian High School. I mean, his house was walking distance, a shouting distance. He would have heard us practicing every day from where how close he stayed, and it was right around that time when he lived in that part of Kendall as well. So, or a little bit after the trial, I think, when he moved to Kendall. So, just a little OJ tidbit. Former Miami Kendall resident, Miami-Dade County Kendall resident. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm gonna do it. Last one. He, like you say, he was living in Florida. This was back in 2004. I want to say. I forgot. It was somewhere between 2002 and 2004. I can't remember. They all blur together. And I was working at Gulfstream Park, which is the racetrack. One thing about that racetrack, it's what's unique. It's the only racetrack that's a property that's both in Dade and Broward County.
Right.
But at any rate, he was in OJ. I heard somebody was like, "Oh my God."
That's OJ.
I forgot. Some lady was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that murder scum is here." I'm like, "What are you talking about, OJ? Oh, where is he? I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind, Bush." And so he's in the dining hall. Okay. And he signed my passport. So.
Yeah.
I shook his hand and I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you." He was nice as hell, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I said, man, listen, if that murder case somehow never happened to that guy, he would be having a hero's funeral, a king or queen's funeral right now. He was that level of popularity. For you younger folks, it may be hard to gauge, but this is really before social media stars and influencers and all that. O.J. Simpson was the man. He was the man's man. So
And by the way, a quick history lesson. Being that you're from the Caribbean, a lot of people. I think I brought this up to you. the first black city in Miami was Coconut Grove, and it was because of the Bahamians, right? You were saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a lot of different people, right, who helped build Miami from the ground up. But yes, you can't tell the story of Miami's growth and development without including the incredible influence of Bahamians, not just as hard labor, but in terms of designing, the type of homes that would last here in storms. It was Bahamian ideas. I mean, we could go on and on. I don't want to bore the crowd, but without Bahamian culture, Bahamian way of life, Bahamian food, you wouldn't have Miami's initial culture, and that's just a fact. It's
Yeah.
indisputable. You know.
Listen, just like when you think Miami, you think of Cubans and Haitians. I think Bahamians should be in that mix as well, because yeah, the first two Caribbean people you think of are Cubans and Haitians when you hear Miami.
Right. Well, yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that. But that's a belated identity. Like even in the mid '80s, it was really that third wave of Cubans that came over in Mariel that really put a strong Cuban stamp. I mean, Cubans had already been coming in from the beginning with there was a huge Cuban community way up in Tampa, right? Ybor City, right? The cigar makers, Jose Marti, and all those guys used to travel here. So there's always been a strong connection with Cuba. The Bahamian identity of Miami doesn't deny anybody else at all. Cubans were here too. But you're right. Today, you cannot talk about Miami without talking about Latin culture in general, the Cuban presence here, among others, and Haitians as well. Haitians, the Zoes, right? Rick Ross, all these guys, right? But that's a belated identity. The issue with Bahamians, the Bahamian identity, is that it's kind of gotten lost in the sauce somewhat. I mean, when you do the gumbe, when you do the junkanoos, when you eat the conch salads and all that, you are getting authentic Bahamian culture. But for many of Miami's black residents who've been here for multiple generations, a lot of them have forgotten these Bahamian links. They've been here for so many generations that they're American through and through. Their identity is that of a Miami American. But when you check their DNA, when you check their ancestry, check their genealogy, they got roots to laborers who came in from the Bahamas and other places, but mainly the Bahamas when you talked about the building of Miami at the turn of the 20th century. So, but anyway, I don't want to bore your audience. We're here to talk football. We're here to talk.
We're here. It's called a blender for a reason. We're blending it up, man.
Okay.
We're, you know what I'm saying? We're getting to know you. We're getting, learning a little something. You know what I mean? A little education. You know what I mean?
No doubt, man.
I said I got you for 2 hours, so it won't be that long. But you know what I'm saying? Hey, we got to capitalize on it, baby. So anyway,
I appreciate it.
Let's get to the $1 million question. What made you a Dolphin fan?
Okay, like I said, man, moving over here at that time, I was just having a debate with my homies, man, today on the topic, right? Because they say I'm a hating ass Dolphin fan, and I'm sure many people who've heard me talk on these platforms would probably agree, right?
Yeah, hater. Yeah, that's what you are.
Well, they certify me as a Tua hater, but then some people go as far as to say I hate the Dolphins. My boys tell me that I need to stop being a Dolphin fan because a lot of them are Tuaneers, right? And I told them, I said, listen, it's not that I hate on the Dolphins, man. It's that I feel like I've been tricked, man. They got me at a tender age, 10, 11 years old, man, showing me greatness, showing me Super Bowl aspirations. You know what I'm saying? And then after Marino left, we've been in the desert. So yeah, after 30 years of being in the desert, man, I've become a grumpy, old, angry Dolphin fan. Yes, I am. I proudly stand on that. I don't think what we've seen out of the team is good enough right now. But that doesn't change the reason why I fell in love with the Dolphins. And again, that was Marino's greatness, the Clayton Duper connection, Nat Moore. Man, I love me some Tony Page when he was the fullback. Man, I even wanted to be Tony Page when I was learning how to be a running back in the day, And then we drafted Sammy Smith. Before that, Mark Logan. I mean, I could. Man, I studied the game, and I honestly, I got to give a big shout out to my guy who I grew up with down here, Chad Alexander, who is he is currently the assistant GM of the San Diego Chargers. Just came in with with John Harbaugh. Sorry, the Los Angeles Chargers now. But we grew up in the same neighborhood, and his dad was the legendary wide receivers coach Hubbard Alexander, who at the time was the wide receiver coach at UM during its great years. So I got to be very close to football at a young age, learning about UM and learning about the Dolphins and participating in the sport, learning the sport, breaking bread with some of these guys, and I quickly assimilated into American culture. Whoa! I quickly
Okay.
assimilated into American culture, football culture, and so by the time I'm in high school now, I'm there competing with anybody. And I would argue that the area I grew up in was as football rich as any in the United States of America. That down south football of the late '80s, early '90s, and
Yeah.
so throughout this period, the Dolphins were legit, man. As long as Marino was there, we had a chance. You know, we didn't win the big game, albeit we didn't win the Super Bowl. But we always felt like going into the season that we had a shot. It was just a matter of, will the defense be strong enough? Will we have enough of a running game? But the team as it existed through that period was among the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have any vivid memories of any games that stick out into your memory? Growing
Well,
up?
you mentioned one. When we defeated Chicago, when they had the undefeated season, and Chicago had Refrigerator Perry, a legendary defense coached by Buddy Ryan. They were undefeated and seemingly unstoppable with the great Walter Payton running the ball, and we came in and beat their ass on. I believe it was Monday night, and that to me that was an outstanding example. And my guy Mark Clayton went off in that game with some big touchdowns. I think he had 2 touchdowns in that game. Man, there've been so many memorable Dolphin moments. Not all of them good, but um, I remember the fake spike. Watching that live with Marino hitting. It was Arande Gatson, I believe, for the touchdown. That was another big moment on the positive side of things. I remember being super excited about us drafting Sammy Smith, and then in his first game, him going for 100 yards. Man, you couldn't tell me we weren't headed to the Super Bowl after drafting Sammy Smith, who then turned out to be a disappointment. So I mean, there's just so many. There's just so many, and you know what? I might be an angry Dolphin fan today, but a lot of those were exciting, happy times. I mean, back in these days, man, if the guy down the street, who might have been a Giants fan, you might have to fight him. You know what I'm saying? Out on the park. And so it was that level of fanhood. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Mike Singletary with the crazy eyes.
crazy eyes, Mike Singletary, and we beat his ass. Yeah, and that was an all-time great NFL defense, and Marino obliterated them. That's probably the standout moment. I remember when we were in the Super Bowl against the 49ers. This might be a little bit negative, man. The excitement going into that game, the teachers at school were teaching us the Dolphin Fight song, and we were learning about the players. And then I remember my mom, who knows nothing about football. We were watching the Super Bowl, and as the teams started to get marched out onto the field, the Dolphins came out first. Yeah, Dolphins. And then the 49ers started to come out. Ronnie Lott, Roger Craig, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Randy Cross. And my mom, who knows nothing about football, she's like, "Oh, we're not going to win this game." I'm like, "Mom, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about, Mom." But somehow she knew right then, before the game started, that we were going to be in trouble in that Super Bowl game. And sure enough, it turned out that way, man. Tears. Oh, that was an anguishing moment at a young age. Not a pleasant memory.
Yeah. Yeah, but we haven't been back since.
We've been in a couple division championships, I think, after that, but you're right, never got back into the bowl ever again. And now I'm about to hit 50 years old. And
I just hit 46, so
you'll get there. No, you'll get there, bro. And hey, man, when you get to these years, man, you start to get a little bit more anxious about the possibility of it ever happening at all.
Well, here's the thing about this. This is what I'm never gonna see. The thing about it is, for me, football season, football Sunday is me time.
Sacred, sacred.
Me
Yeah.
time. Nobody bothers me. I tell people in advance, even my wife, don't make plans from September to um, April. I mean to February on Sundays, because if we have a bye week or we're playing prime time, we can negotiate. You know what I'm saying? But the Dolphins are playing. That's my time to just me undisturbed, uninterrupted, my time.
hmm Listen,
So I enjoy it.
one of the
By the way,
defining. Mhm.
me and the wife are getting married. Me and I call her my wife now. We've been together almost 12 years. We're getting married September 1st in
All right,
Vegas.
man. Hey, congratulations, Big
Thank you, man.
Shakezilla, tying the
Yeah,
knot, and
yeah.
congratulations to Miss Shake Money too.
Yeah. But one of the reasons I'm doing that September 1st is because usually football doesn't start till the second week of September. So the
Wow.
first week we'll celebrate our anniversary, and then okay, now you can leave me alone for the rest till February.
There it is, and you got a wife who understands that. So hey, you got a winner already, man. Well, hey, man, congratulations again,
Well, thank
bro.
you. So
Um, but listen, hey, one of the defining characteristics of American culture over the last 50 years has been people leaving the church, right? Leaving religion, right? Walking away from the church. And listen, if you ask me, I think one of the main reasons people aren't going to church on Sunday anymore is precisely what you just described, man. The religion of football has taken over of professional football. For years, the number one entertainment option out of all on TV, in the United States. And I'm partially exaggerating when it comes to that, but I'm trust me, I've been there. I've been there, man. I was the guy. I wore my lucky shirt when the Dolphins played, and it had holes and it had bite marks. But every time they play on Sunday, I put on my Dolphins gear and and wish for the best, hope for the best, root my team on. You know, so yeah, been there, done that. The religion of Dolphin fanaticism. I am an acolyte. You know what
and
I'm
by
saying?
the way, Michael K, she did lose the bet because I told her, I said, watch, Buffalo is going to lose on a wide right. And I won the bet. There you go. That's why we're getting married.
Oh, so you you want to bet?
Yeah. I told her Buffalo's going to do wide right again.
And
And sure
if
enough,
you're right,
wide right.
if you're right, she had to marry you.
Yeah, pretty much. There you go.
There it is, man. Hey,
Thank you. Thank you, whoever the kicker is.
some sorry Joker, man. He probably was happy to get out of frozen, sorry
And
ass
listen, Josh
Buffalo.
Allen's like, listen, man, I need you to go wide right because I got a golfing tournament next week.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how we're going to handle Josh Allen now, man. As his ball grabber has left, has gone to the West
I
Coast.
agree. I agree. Dan Mitchell is the greatest Bill content creator of all time. So
Yeah, man. Did all the receivers have left? Damn Buffalo, it seems as well. So I don't know what Josh Allen's going to be able to do now.
listen, at the end of the day, look, you got. I hate that, and I hate to freaking stick up for Buffalo because that team I hate the most. But I think next year their team is going to be running through the tight ends and the running game. At the end of the day, with that, they're going to be running a lot of 12-man personnel. I think they'll find a replacement. It's still just like that's just like we have to say, hey, look, we're still in pros building mode. So are they. So you never know what big free agent they're gonna land. So there's still a
Yeah,
couple of wide receivers of note out there that you have. So you never know, man.
sure. And one or two are going to get freed up after the draft as well when teams get certain players in house. So we'll see.
And by the way, thank y'all for congratulating me. Appreciate you. Red
Yeah,
Wine
man,
Bills in the building. What's going on?
that's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. Marriage is a big, big deal, Shake.
Yeah. I mean, with her, I've been living with her for like almost 12 years. This is gonna be 12 years, so it is what
hmm
it is. I just want to make sure if something, God forbid, something happens, that you know what I'm saying, she's
Sure.
covered. You know.
No doubt, man. That's what it is, man. Marriage is more than you've already survived the honeymoon phase without
Yeah.
legitimately going on your honeymoon. So she's the one. You
Listen,
know what
she
I'm
puts
saying?
up with me. That's all that matters.
That is critical, And hey, that's the thing. Women maintain their beauty, and us fellas just get uglier and older.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
yeah, yeah, man.
What's up, dude? Goose from Seattle. What's going on, man? AKA Joe. What's going on, man? So, all right, now let's talk about last year's team, right? Since we're talking about teams, what
Mhm.
grade would you give it?
Man, oh man. Last year's team is a C, and it's barely a C. What saves the C and not a D is the fact that we actually made the playoffs.
So you say a C minus then?
Listen, it's a lot like our stat-driven Tua supporting fans, right?
Yeah,
Once we could have that rubric, once we can have that benchmark of success, it's hard to get anything lower than satisfactory. But there's a lot to have been let down with on the team and to be disappointed with. Despite the 11 wins, the playoff experience, the way we ended the season, and the way we performed in that playoff game, it erases for me it erases a lot of the successes that we had. Um, and again, that just may be a bitter, jaded old man talking, but it is what it is. I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. So, listen, even I'll say this. Uh, Going back 10 years now, I feel like the effort of the general managers of our team, it's been mixed, but it's mostly been hard work, sweat equity, and mostly successful at building competitive teams. I just think we keep missing the mark when it comes to the quarterback equation.
yeah,
Um, and this goes back to Tannehill. This is a pre-Tua critique. If you
yeah,
knew me back then, you would have seen that I was off the Tannehill train relatively quickly, more than most people. And it was precisely because of the way in which I felt he interpreted the game. Much the same critique I give to it, the ability to process. Like for me, good quarterbacks, you know right away that they got that it. They may not become the best, but they got that moxie. Like Joe Burrow, there's no doubt that he's a baller, right? He's gonna, another example of that would be like a guy like even going back looking at Bernie Kosar. Bernie
yeah,
Kosar, similar to Tua, didn't have all the tools through sidearm, but upstairs, his ability to process the game, attack the field where defenses were weak was unquestionable. If you gave Bernie Kosar elite physical talents, he might be one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the game. But he just didn't have the physicality to match up to a John Elway, a Dan Marino, those guys who died, Jim Kelly. People forget how great Jim Kelly was. Sorry to give a Buffalo Bill his props. You know,
yeah.
um,
Well, the thing I
you
like
know.
about Jim Kelly was I could hate him on Saturdays and I hate him on Sundays. So win-win.
Well, he was a University of Miami Hurricane though, so
Mhm.
And I even remember watching him on when he was with the USFL. That first installation of the USFL had talented players, and he was one of he was like one of the faces of that short-lived league back in I think 82, 83, 84, somewhere in there. I don't remember the the year, but he was a dominant USFL player before coming over to the Bills and making them kind of relevant. I know they're better than that, but it's hard to give Bills credit of any kind. F the Bills. Uh, so yeah, man.
Yeah, Jim Kelly. And Jim Kelly, Ken Dorsey was a
Yep.
Bill too.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
we're gonna find out if Ken Dorsey was a problem in Buffalo because he
Mhm.
will be the offensive coordinator for Cleveland Browns. So I'm interested to see what he's gonna do with Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston. Which, by the way, I think Jameis Winston, even though he played for Florida State, We both hate. We both could agree. We both hate Florida State, right?
No doubt, man.
But I think Jameis Winston is still underrated. Look, all he had to do was clean up his interceptions. You still people still gloss over the fact that he threw 30 touchdowns and for 5,000 yards. Not too many quarterbacks are throwing for 5,000 yards.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too deep, but you could equate Jameis Winston and his initial career trajectory to that of a young Brett Favre. Brett Favre threw major interceptions in his first couple of years in the league. But, the Atlanta Falcons, the teams he was with, persisted with him. He got to Green Bay, and then became great. For some reason, Jameis Winston hasn't been allowed or offered that grace. I'm sure we might have theories why, but for me, they're the same guy. They're the same kind of guy. Ultra aggressive gunslingers with talented arms who will force the issue, and early on made more mistakes than not.
Well,
I'm kind of disappointed. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that Winston hasn't gotten that second win or second opportunity.
Yeah, I think one of the things I would say is that he had a lot of off the field issues with the Uber driver and the crab legs and all that stuff. So I think
he's quite the character. He's quite the character. But listen, like I said, the reason why I bring up the Brett Favre comp isn't just production on the field. Brett Favre was another colorful character off the field. But, I guess, like I said, I don't want to get into the double standard talk, but to me, they're the same guy. But, somehow people look at them differently.
Yes. This is true.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was your favorite offseason move, and what was your least favorite? The player that you like? Damn, I wish we shouldn't have let go.
Well, the player I like that we picked up was Jordan Brooks. I think he's a stud, as long as he's healthy. That middle linebacker is very promising, and I got to give Greer his props. I was kind of down on him at the end of the season. I'm down on him primarily because of his dedication to Tua, which I understand, right? He laid the bed for Tua, and he's got to stay in it with him. But he did a good enough job, man. The Jordan Brooks move, the Jordan Poyer move is a stopgap move, but it makes a lot of sense. The numbers he's throwing at that tackle position, we're bringing in some quality guys with NFL experience, hoping 2 or 3 of them shake out. So, I mean, this is the problem with Greer. He makes a lot of great moves, but then you're like, that one move throws everything off. And so as far as the move I hate, see, we lost Wilkins and we lost Robert Hunt, right?
Yeah.
We lost AVG, right? Listen, it's hard between Hunt and Wilkins. I know neither of them was NFL dominant top 3. I don't think any of them are a top 3 NFL player, which makes it tough because I think all 3 of them wanted top 3 NFL money, right? Yeah. So resigning them thus became a struggle. I really liked the growth that Wilkins showed, like both players showed over their short Dolphins careers. It's just a shame they couldn't be convinced to come in at a number that the Dolphins organization found acceptable. Again, Wilkins, more than 300 tackles in 4 years at a defensive line position, really speaks to his level of activity and production at a position that often doesn't get that kind of action and production. So, the sack numbers may not have been there to the level of Chris Jones or
Aaron
Donald, but I think he was a living heartbeat of our defensive line. And it takes nothing away from a guy like Zach Sealer, who's also, busted his ass and produced at a very high level at a similar position. But I think, we'll see. We'll see if we miss. We'll see how much we miss Wilkins. I say Wilkins is the move that I didn't like the most. Yeah.
So the Dolphins can't leave the draft without addressing what 2 needs. Would you say? In your opinion?
That's the thing, man. If I speak with my heart, it's a different answer than if I speak with my mind.
Let's speak with your heart, man. This is your show, baby. Do your thing, baby.
See, if I
You know,
speak with my heart, we got to bring in a guy to push Tua, to challenge Tua at quarterback one. He's got to feel some sort of pressure when for the last 2 years at least, if not the entire four, everything's been done to make him feel comfortable. He's got to understand that the level of production, right, 4,600 yards in a Pro Bowl is
yeah,
not enough. And that might be enough for Carolina right now. That might be enough at another franchise. But this is this Dolphins team and this Dolphins community that's been in the desert that long. So if I talk with my heart, I want to see another quarterback come in here and push the guy. Whether it happens or not, we'll leave that up to Tua. Tua's
yeah,
supposed to have the pedigree to respond to that sort of challenge. And all that stuff that was reported, I don't believe most of it, but all that stuff that we heard about, you can't talk to guys that way, all that bullshit. If any of that is anywhere even close to being true, then we need to bring in somebody to push him like yesterday, because that sort of attitude ain't never winning in the NFL. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Or
And
or
mhm.
or the fact that and maybe he wasn't talking about him, but Tyreek Hill said that there was times where there was no they were like, when he criticized them, the Tua, I think it was,
Yeah, he caught feelings. He caught feelings and wouldn't talk to him for a week.
yeah.
Like I said, a lot of that is rumor and innuendo. And
Hmm.
while that confirms my bias against Tua, I still acknowledge it as rumor and innuendo.
Yeah, of
And
course.
I would wish that a lot of the Tuaneers would do the same and accept that a lot of that anti-Flores stuff was also rumor and innuendo. But to this day, a lot of them take a lot of that bull crap as fact, when it might be partially true or totally untrue. It might wholly be true, but we don't know. We're not in the locker room, So, you know,
I was probably in the minority where I was pro Tua and pro Brian Flores. At the end of the day, I think, look, if I'm at a job, I'm not there to be his friend. I mean, it's good that we do have a friendship, but that's not the main goal. Is to be friends. The main goal is to do what we're getting paid to do, and that's win. That's it. You don't have to be friends. You don't have to go home with him. You don't have to like him. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
You have a task that needs to be accomplished. At the end of the day, if you're getting paid to do something, whether you're friends or not, just got to coexist and get the job done. That's all.
Shake. I was at the stadium when he got his first taste of NFL action in a professional game against the New York Jets. I was there with one of my daughters and my son, and all three of us were there. And there were fans who were leaving early because we had whooped the Jets thoroughly, right? And as the guys sitting in my section started to leave, I said, "Look, don't leave, man. We're going to get a chance to see our guy, our first round guy, Tua, in this game. This is the perfect game to introduce him." And a couple of them guys took my advice and sat back down, and sure enough, they brought in Tua. Now, at that moment, that's the thing. For me, I should have saw that as like a harbinger, a symbol of what was to come, because it was pretty nondescript and vanilla and non-threatening. I think Flores was trying to protect him even then, because all they called were like screenplays or little safe plays at that time. And while it was exciting to see him get in the game, and I had all the hope in the world for Tua at that point,
Hmm.
but I was underwhelmed as I left seeing him on the field that first time. And for me, it's been much the same up to now. I mean, he has had some great moments. Granted, I was
I mean,
one I was singing his praises after that Baltimore game 2 seasons
yeah.
ago. You
I've,
know,
I've heard you. I've heard you compliment Tua, and
yeah,
he's doing well. But at the end of the day, people don't hear that. They just have selective hearing. People have selective hearing.
right. Now I have to say, if I think with my mind, right, if I think with
Mhm.
my mind, number 21 is way too early to consider picking a quarterback, right? With
Yeah.
what you talked what we talked about already with the defensive end situation and then the O line situation. I think those two positions have to be addressed with high level talent. They could use a talent infusion to help the overall team level. But that's just that's not speaking with my heart, you know.
Yeah.
So if we draft a Latu, if we draft the guy from Florida State, Verse, or if we can get our hands on one of those talented tackle/guards like Fontenot or Fuaga, or the guy from Penn State, or even take a stretch on a big physical dominant guy like Kingsley to BYU. I could understand that effort to stick one more talent in, and you know who'll be happy with that? My Bahamian brother, Sharif.
Yeah.
He missed out on Worth and Diaz, but if we get Kingsley, I'm sure Sharif will be happy with that. So, not
Being that you're one of the guys that I don't ask every guest this, but being that you're one of the guys that saw the Marx Brothers, right? Who do you like better, the Marx Brothers or Tyreek Hill and Waddle?
It's a great question, man. And it's an honor. It should be an honor for Tyreek and Waddle to be compared to that great duo, who I think is chronically underappreciated. You know, like people don't understand how revolutionary those two were with Marino at the time. They pretty much redefined the NFL as an aerial attack league, as a quarterback passing attack league at a time where, you know, it was physical, man. Running backs had big old shoulder pads, you know, big backs, grounding, you know, but they changed the face of the league, and they don't get the credit they deserve. For me, Mark Clayton, more so even than Duper, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, not just the Dolphins Hall of Fame. Mark Duper even, I think, has a strong case to be in the NFL Hall of Fame, although I would give Clayton the advantage and eventually, hopefully, reaching that perch. So again, it's debatable. It's debatable, and both Tyreek and Jalen Waddle still have a lot of career left in front of them. If you look at a stats only analysis or comparison of the two pairs, you might say that Tyreek and Waddle are ahead, right, of Clayton and Duper. But again, I think the stats don't necessarily help the Clayton Duper side of the argument. I will say this, though. When Mark Clayton in 1985 scored 18 touchdowns, he broke the NFL record for touchdowns at the wide receiver position. And that record stood for a long time until I think Calvin Johnson broke it. I may be wrong about that, but
Shout out to my color commentary. Anyone brave enough to wear a old with clean?
Yeah.
And but you know what? What's funny is I did it. Crypto he's going to be back in the blender. Color's going to be in the blender. The one thing that
big shout out to those guys, man. I learned something new from both of them every time I listen.
The Fins tailgate is in the. I tell you what. One thing I like about the Fins tailgate is we have a love for the team, but we're a diverse bunch. We have different views, different opinions, but at the end of the day, we get along and we form like Voltron. You know what I mean? That's how I like to say. But
let me be totally candid, man. Sometimes Crypto, Color, they get on my nerves because they're such powerful speakers, right? But I will never deny their brilliance, their football takes, their objectivity, their fairness. Those guys are outstanding football commentators. I could have a beer and talk football with them guys anytime, any day of the week.
Crypto gets on my nerves all the time. What are you talking about?
Man, Crypto's so cool. Man, he's cooler than the other side of the pillow, though, man.
Oh yeah. But so anyway, he was a guest last year, and so I watched the '85 Bear game on YouTube. The one thing I noticed that none of the wide receivers wore gloves.
Yep, no. This old school. These are old school players, man. Listen, even Nat Moore was on the field making plays.
Nat Moore, yeah, man, he went to a great college too, by the way.
Which one?
Nat Moore, in my opinion, is the Udonis Haslam for the Dolphins. Went to school in Miami, went to Florida, went to his home in Miami. So yeah.
Oh, he went to college at University of Florida.
Yes, sir.
Damn, he well, you know what? My respect for him has gone even higher because he actually was able to survive that and come out and still have a formidable NFL career. So props to Nat Moore. He survived University of Florida and their suckiness. That's a great man to overcome
Yeah.
that.
And listen, and listen, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to see week one.
Yeah, for a long time, most people may remember. You know, he would be on all of the preseason uh, um, TV shows with Bob Greasy.
By the way,
It got
he's in charge. He's in charge of the alumni, um,
for the team.
Dolphin alumni,
Yeah,
Nat Moore.
listen, that receiving core that Marino had throughout his career was always top notch, man. When Clayton Duper faded away, they brought in Irving Fryer, Mark Ingram. There was this young upstart Tony Martin who went on to have a tremendous NFL career. But even the guys who were the third, fourth string guys all made plays with Marino. The Fred Banks of the world, the what was the name? Pruitt. I can't remember Pruitt's first name. The Scott Schwades, the Scotty Miller. No, Scotty Miller. Is it? No, but man, there was just so many guys making plays all the time. It was an enjoyable, brand of football to watch, even though we
By the
didn't
way,
win the
shout out
game.
to Cruz Ruiz. I spoke to Cruz Ruiz. He's gonna be in the blender soon. Spider Man, Irving is gonna be in the blender soon. Next week, Steve Malloy is gonna be in the blender soon.
Oh, that's a big
Man,
dog right there. Steve
my
Malloy's a
man,
big dog.
hey, listen, this guy, he is a Dolphins fan from Philly. Him and Dolphin Winters are my Philly Finn brothers. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, I can tell you this now. I actually tailgated with Dolphins Winters 2 times, and the last time I got I don't smoke the hippie lettuce, but I got to pass the joint from the blunt from Winters, only because I wanted to say I actually did that with him, because that's how much high respect I have for my man Winters. Man.
Yeah, Winters is a solid dude, man. And listen, man, the weed is good for you, man. It's the healing of the nation, man.
Yeah, I only had 2 puffs, so they can't do shit.
And you're that much healthier as a result.
Yeah,
The green is the way forward, man.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna put you on the spot now. You have the LA Rams, St. Louis Rams, LA Rams, LA Chargers, St. Louis Chargers. By the way, I found out that the St. Louis Chargers was owned by a credit card company, so that's why they got the name Chargers. But anyway, Las Vegas Raiders, Oakland Raiders, LA Raiders. So if Miami Dolphins went to Austin, Texas, and became the Austin Texans Dolphins with the same team logo, just like the LA Raiders and the teams that I just mentioned, will you still be a Dolphin fan?
If they move to another city in another state,
Yeah.
would I go with the logo?
Yeah.
Man, it'd be hard to let it go, but damn it, I have to let it go, man. If it ain't 305, it ain't right.
Yeah.
If it ain't 305, it ain't right, man. Listen, like I said, man.
Miami came back with the Miami Sea Turtles or Miami Sharks, then you'll be back to them.
Yeah, I'll be a sea turtle and I'll be a shark, man. It's about the 305. Too much sweat equity in this community relative to football. And again, I got, like I said, I don't want to go back to your earlier question, but for me, the South Florida football nursery is one of the greatest, if not the greatest in the nation in terms of producing football talent, man. And I'm proud to have been a part of that. At one point, I was in the mix there, and my respect for anybody who's ever put on the pads in South Florida, anywhere from Jupiter on down to home, to Homestead, has got my eternal respect, especially in the era in which we played, where there were no concussions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where wishbones and veer offenses abounded. It was a very physical brand of football that really defined what is becoming almost a lost element of society: toughness. You know what I'm saying? Get up off the ground and go at it again. Don't quit. Wait your turn. All of these values that seem to be on the outs, they were part of growing up as a football player or playing football in South Florida. So, I got to roll with the 305. If it's the Sharks, we the Miami Sharks. If it's the Sea Turtles, we the Miami Sea Turtles. The logo can go, but it's all about Miami.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I went to Carroll City High. I'm a proud chief. You know,
Okay.
when I was in high school, I was anti-chief, which I wish I could talk to. You know, everybody wants to talk to the younger self and smack the shit out of them and talk sense into them, like, you know what I'm saying, gear them into the right situation. But that's neither here nor there. But anyway, I'm a Carroll City chief, and I'm happy that the Carroll City Chiefs alumni stepped in because they want to change the name from Carroll City Chiefs to the Miami Sea Turtles, Miami Garden Sea Turtles.
Miami Garden Sea Turtles. Yeah, I
And
heard about
I
that.
thank God that shit got turned down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's too much history there, man. Too much identities. A lot of great players. Remember Willie Williams, man? He was the
And by
number
the
one
way,
recruiter linebacker.
Walt
Yeah, Walt
Frazier
Mhm.
is gonna get a water park named after him.
Yeah, man. He was the man up there, man. I saw my cousin went to Norland and played football at Norland, which was right nearby at the time. So
Yeah, man. My three iconic coaches for the state of Florida is Don Shula, and I know this may sound funny coming from a Gator, but Bobby Bowden and Walt Frazier. I'm sorry, I put Bobby Bowden ahead of Spurrier because Bobby Bowden, I have respect for him because at the end of the day, he turned down Randy Moss because he wanted to make sure that the locker room, he preferred when you turned over your son to Bobby Bowden, he wanted to make sure that he came out a better man, a better person than when you came in. You know what I'm saying? He was about being a good person versus being a football player, and it showed. Every football player that came from Bobby Bowden, you can't point to too many head cases that came out of Bobby Bowden's tenure.
programs. Yeah, yeah. The legend of Bobby Bowden must have some elements of truth to it. I just spent so many years hating on the FSU that,
Of course, yeah,
whatever.
I do too. But at the end of the day, you got to respect.
No, I get your point. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, for me, I got to put my own coaches, people like
Go
Sam
for it.
Miller, people like Otis Collier, who taught me how to be a running back the hard way, the old school way. But then even the opposition coaches like Don Solinger at the hated Southbridge Spartans, always respected what he did with that program over there. Even guys who I watched from afar who didn't know I was watching, guys like Gus Matos at Braddock High School, built that program played there and then built that program for many years. These guys, were Miami football guys through and through.
Yeah, Willie
Um,
Goldstein was another good coach. Willie Goldstein,
yep,
he coached
yep,
Northwestern and then
yep, yep,
Central. Willie
yep,
Goldstein was another great coach. You know,
yeah.
I met
So
Willie Goldstein too. I met Frazier and Goldstein. I actually shook their hand. And one thing about Frazier is I used to talk to him when I used to see him on
mhm,
campus. And he was very approachable. You know what I mean? He
mhm.
wasn't one of those guys that, and he's like, son. He always had the son thing.
That's the
But
thing. Other communities, like you go to Texas, the head coach is a standalone position at a lot of these schools. But here in Dade County, to be the head coach meant you had to be a teacher. So, you coach after school, but you were teaching, 5, 6 classes for the most part during the day, so you had to deal with all the regular students too. So,
hey man.
it is what it was.
So you got
So,
to play on Trespass Stadium, the mecca of football.
yeah, a few times, although, we're a down south team, but yeah, Travis Powell, back then, in the early 90s, at least this is the way I was thinking. Maybe not everybody was thinking, but there was a stigma going up to up north. Will the game last to the end or will it get shot up? Used to be the thing.
Oh
There were
yeah.
a couple, come up with the police helicopter would be shining the lights in the stands, and we had to postpone the game. So,
Yeah.
that kind of was in your head when you went up north to play back in them
Well,
days.
when I was a freshman, when I was in high school, the
Hmm.
opening game was Northwestern versus Miami Carroll City. By the way, Press Powell is why I got my love of football. Was it
The Soul Bowl.
So no, actually, Soul Bowl was Jackson Northwestern.
Oh, Jackson Northwestern. Okay, yeah.
But the first I didn't go to that game, thankfully. But that game was stopped because there was a shooting.
Yep. Unfortunately, it's it's not a nostalgic thing to remember,
Yeah.
but it is something that was a regular part of the whole atmosphere. It was a possibility.
Oh, yeah,
There were times we'd be on the bus after the game, ducking. Get on the bus, let's get out of here. That kind of thing. So
I remember I was in the Orange Bowl, 1995, the year OJ got acquitted. Mm-hmm. Another OJ reference. But 1995, December of 1995, I was at the Orange Bowl. I was drunk as fuck. My homeboy was in a wheelchair, so we were able to sleep liquor in his wheelchair. So, and 1995, man, I saw Miami Northwestern taking on Miami Carroll City in the Orange Bowl semifinals for state championship. I saw Santana Moss, Snoop Menace, and Nate Webster.
Man, let's go at it. Yeah, Santana Moss, great all-time Carroll City Chief, man.
Yeah, he was, man. He wanted to give money to the college, but Frazier was like, no, he kind of turned it down. So.
Yeah.
But no, Frazier. I'm gonna tell you what. Frazier was. Let me tell you how this. Not only did he not put stickers on helmets, because I know a lot of teams did that, but if you were on the sidelines, you had to keep your helmet on at all times. You couldn't take your helmet off.
Oh yeah, we had that rule.
Even if you're drinking water, you had to drink the water with your helmet on.
Yep, and you'd be lucky if they gave you water. Mm-hmm. If you didn't do the plays right or you messed up, you might get your water privileges taken. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was back in those days, man. Listen, I've seen coaches, and again, this sounds terrible and toxic by today's standards, but I've seen coaches beat the hell out of players, you know what I'm saying, for the dumbest things, like taping their jersey to their pads. The O-line used to love doing that. I told you not to do that, you stupid bitch. Shit like that, and the next thing you know, your left tackle's getting whooped up on by the offensive coordinator. I'll leave names out of it to protect the innocent, but it was a wild time, man. But it was, those experiences and growing up in Miami-Dade of football were definitive, and if you survived it, it honestly, to me, it just toughens you to a certain degree. I wouldn't trade any of that for, looking back, for anything in the world. And there were times where I was tested. But it was so valuable for a young immigrant kid trying to assimilate into American culture, trying to show that I was good enough, or one of the guys, or that I could succeed at this. You know what I'm saying? So it was really a meaningful experience as part of my love, not just for the Dolphins, but for football overall, as a sport. I mean, all the young people I encounter today, I tell them, man, if there's anything you do aside from doing well in school, is get on some team sport, preferably football. You learn what teamwork's about. You learn so many great values from the sport, and
put the team first.
Yeah.
And just, by the way, another thing that if you know Walt Frazier, he is synonymous. Whenever he was on the sideline, he used to wear a conductor's hat.
Yeah, it was like a train operator's hat, right?
Yeah. That was his trademark.
Yeah. What, do you know why? Was there some reason why? I didn't know the answer.
I forgot what it was, but I remember he used to. I remember he used to wear a conductor's hat. That was his trademark. Whenever you see him, he had the conductor's hat. I forgot what it was, but I tell you what, like I said, he was very approachable, man, and I was fortunate to speak to him a few times. And one of the questions I asked him was, why don't you guys put the stickers on the helmet? He goes, listen, if you know you did a good play, what difference does it make? You know what I'm saying? It's not about your success. You know what I'm saying? It's about the team's success.
Yeah.
So
I know that used to. that sticker stuff was a distraction. I mean, we had stickers, and it used to be like getting stickers was more important than winning the game. Sometimes it became something silly. Whose helmet had the most little decorative stickers.
And
Um,
yeah, and that's the one thing I like to. That's why I put Frazier and Bobby Bowden in the same ilk because they they put emphasis on student before athlete.
for athlete, yep, yep. And listen, this is why Miami football players went on to become such vital assets to the teams they joined, either at the college level or even in the pros. It's that football culture
Yeah,
that came out of South Florida, and those guys don't often get the credit. So props to you for giving the guys at the high school level a lot of the credit that they deserve for developing these guys.
well, yeah, man. Like I
And
said, that's where
you know,
Trash Pal is where I developed my love for the Dolphins. I mean, for football in general.
yeah.
So, all right, here's another question I want to ask you.
All right.
You're a fisherman, right? We'll dive into that a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're diving. All right. So, being that you're a fisherman, I usually ask people, "What's your favorite game day meal?" Do you have special catches that you like? For instance, you caught something like, "Damn, I caught this special fish, or like grouper or whatever you catch." Right? Like, "Damn, I'm gonna have this at game day." You have like a special game day meal that you like to have?
Mm, not necessarily. Well, back in my more unhealthy days,
Hmm.
I bought in. I was one who bought into all the pizza, get a pizza and a Dr Pepper, something like that. But aside from specific type of food, I mean, I do like the wings during a big football game. With a lot of people there too. But I have certain dishes that I use. Like I have a whole set of Dolphins cups and glasses. I even got a Dolphin voodoo helmet that I got from Cozumel, Mexico. I got dolphin blankets. I got dolphin paraphernalia all over. I have dolphin pillows. So I'm big with the I guess the what's the term for it? With all the little accoutrements of
Yeah.
dolphinhood, but there's no set meal, and it doesn't necessarily. I mean, fish. Like listen. I much I eat fish. I do eat fish, and when I was younger, I didn't like fish as much, but I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
catching
Me
fish.
neither.
I like catching them more than I like eating them. You
Okay.
know what I'm saying? I like the sport of going out there and the adventure of it, the unknown variety of it. And again, like with the Dolphins, at a young age, I had an experience where when I was in fifth or sixth grade, I actually won a tournament. Back then, they used to do fishing tournaments, youth fishing tournaments, and there was a
Yeah.
big one up in Hialeah at Amelia Earhart Park. Right? It was
Oh
one
man.
summer,
Remember Reynolds Park too? That shit was off the chain too.
and I messed around and won the damn fishing contest. I caught one fish, but it was the biggest bass anybody in the whole contest had caught, like a 6 pound largemouth bass out of there. And I won the whole damn thing. And then they put my picture in the neighbors newspaper, which used to be a section of the Sunday Miami Herald. And from then, I was Kari the fisherman. So, so I rolled with it. And then, and then my dad was a fisherman. He'd fish, every now and then. The weekends took me up to Lake Okeechobee. I had a good friend down the street who had a boat, so his dad would take us out on the boat every now and then. Big up to Matt in Bentry and his whole family. If you happen to listen to this, Matt, still think about you and those fun times out fishing in the Everglades and going to Elliott Key and all them things. So yeah, and then with my Caribbean roots,
Yeah, for sure.
fish fish is definitely a part of that. So
Right.
whatever I catch, I usually give it to my mom.
So two questions, and this is valuable to the listeners. Anybody who's watching this far. Two questions. What's the best bait and what's the best time?
Well, if you're doing saltwater fishing down here in Florida Keys, you can't go wrong with ballyhoo. Ballyhoo are like a staple bait fish down here. They have that long needle nose, but they're kind of tough. They're a durable bait, right? And everything loves to eat ballyhoo. So if you're going to go fishing and you need a go-to bait, and you don't have much experience, get a pack of ballyhoo
Hey,
and
by the
bring
way,
a
real
knife.
quick thing,
Yeah.
PKP, check. You know Blazy 38. Have you ever met
Oh
Blazy
yeah, yeah,
38?
yeah. I've seen Bleezy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He has a
Bleezy Pop.
channel. He has a channel
Uh-huh.
about fishing. It's a must watch.
Oh, I gotta check that
Shout
out,
out to
man.
Blazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send you the link to his channel, man. He does outdoor. He does a lot of outdoor videos, whatever. But he does grilling. This man, Bleezy 38, is probably one of the best channels out there. If you're a fisherman and an outdoors person, that's my man right there, Bleezy in the building.
No
Go ahead.
doubt, man. I gotta check that out for sure, man. In fact, me and my homie, man, we do so much fishing now. We're gonna start our own YouTube on bridge fishing, just like a lot of other dudes. If anybody watches bridge fishing videos down here, like the guy Chad Williams, uh,
Mhm.
uh, with the keeper mutton, he's a friend of mine. He does his thing down here, and there are a bunch of other guys who are pretty much experts in the Florida Keys. I wouldn't call myself an expert, and I've learned a lot from those guys. But yeah, man,
And,
I love going down there just for the adventure, man. So
and don't watch his channel Hungry Man, because that goddamn boy, he grills some shit, boy. I tell you what, man, that I tell you what, don't watch his channel Hungry. That's one recommendation I will tell you to do. But yeah, he's a must watch in my opinion if you're an outdoorsman.
okay, I
Must.
got to check that show out. This past weekend, I just caught like a 22-inch mutton snapper
Nice.
down on the Long Key Bridge, and my wife just sautéed it and made it a nice meal today. So yeah, man. I mean, so if you want to fish to catch and eat mutton snapper, you can't beat it. The only problem is they tend to be pretty rare to catch a keeper. They got to be 18 inches. A lot of people try and take the illegal ones, and then they get caught, and then they get blasted by Monroe County and thrown in jail. So make sure if you catch a mutton snapper, it's 18 inches or larger. Okay.
So what time do you recommend for them to go fishing?
Well, like I said, the Florida Keys, I really love the fishery down there because the bridges are really interesting in that they connect the Atlantic side, right, to the Florida Bay side, or sorry, the Everglades side. So the west side of those bridges is basically, the Everglades, which is one of the world's greatest fisheries. And then on the east side of the bridge, you have the reefs. So depending on the time of the year, depending on the current, you got different species going back and forth through these bridges. So some of the best fishing in the world is actually right here in Florida, down in Monroe County, on those Florida Keys bridges. The only problem is the fishes understand this too. And so, they look at your hook sometimes and like, nah, not today, bro. The fish down there have PhDs in hook avoidance. So you really need to know what you're doing if you're going to be successful. Although a lot of times people just get lucky, a lot of times people just get lucky, and anybody can get lucky. But there are ways to mitigate, your failure rate and hone in on what it is you're trying to catch. Again, I'm no expert. There are a lot of guys who are much better than me. Um, so yeah, man,
That's what's
love
up, man.
you can't beat the Keys, man. I've done it so much. I'm friends with a lot of the charter guys, the party boat guys. I've brought all my kids on their boats for years, so they know who I am. And yeah, man, a lot of good people down there, man, and a lot of fun. And like I see somebody in the chat said, if fishing is therapeutic, it's always that when you go to the Keys, man. The worst day fishing is greater than your best day at work. That
Yeah,
proverb is true most of the time, you know.
I remember,
Uh,
man. Listen, man. I tell you what, it was. There we go. Yeah, this is yeah, man. We met. I actually got to meet with you, man. That was a good day. That was the Carolina game, I believe.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. See, you know what? Shake. That's me at my fattest ever, dude. That's my fattest. Yeah,
Yo,
that's
you
me
you
on the
still
left.
look swole. I don't give a shit. You still swole in the mud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, man. Since then I've
I tell you
lost.
what, you're not fat. You're stocky. There's a difference between fat
Yeah,
and stocky.
I've lost 20 pounds since then, so it's all good, man. And I got to lose about 20 more. So I
No,
need.
you look good. At the end of the day, man. Listen, my wife ain't with me because of my looks, so thank God.
Yeah, Yeah, you're right. You're right. But no, but no. Beyond looks, man. It's a health thing too. It's a health thing.
Yeah, you
You
agree. I
know.
agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So yeah. Um. And hey, that's another thing that fishing does, man. You get out there, get the sunlight, the vitamin D. Of course, you don't want to get too much of it.
Insanity in the building.
Phin-Addict, she is the real MVP, man.
Yeah, she is.
That's one person I'm scared to debate because she always is bringing up counterpoint after counterpoint after counterpoint, and they're legit. You can't hate on them. You
And
know?
she knows football too.
Yeah. And Phin-Addict doesn't know this, but I've been a fan of listening to her from before I started coming up on these panels.
Me too.
So props to Phin-Addict, props
What's
to
up, King
Nene.
Mill? What's going on, man? King Mill. I remember him, like King
Yeah,
Mill,
yeah.
Pete. Believe it or not, like when I was started watching TV 5 years ago, a handful of members. King Mill is one of the guys that I interacted with. Flipside Fishing, Cruz Ruiz, Pete, and there's a few other people. Marino's Goat was, you know what I'm saying? So I go back with those cats a long time, man.
None keep it realer than King Miller. King
Yeah,
Mill, man. Yeah, he keeps it real. Very
he's a
consistent.
Jersey dude.
Very consistent dude. I tend to agree with most of his takes on how he sees things. He's not with the shits as much as I am though. A lot of times I'm just trolling. Like if I'm
Right.
having an argument with my wife or having a bad day, sometimes I just come on these shows just to argue with people, and that's when you see me at my worst. So I apologize if I've ever pissed any of you off. It's probably because I was relieving my stress.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna ask you the duo question. I'm gonna throw you 5 duos. Okay.
Mm.
What duo would you put in next year's team? Okay. We have Ricky and Ronnie, the Marx brothers. Okay. We have Patrick Surtain, Sam Madison. We have
Ooh.
Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas, and we have Dwight Stevenson and Richmond Webb. Which one are you doing?
For Tua's sake, I'm going with the latter. You give
Which one
me
is that?
Richmond Webb and Dwight Stevenson. Throw in some Keith Sims and Roy Foster, and Tua has a wall, has a wall in front of him. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the kind of thing that Tua would need to be comfortable and to definitely execute at a high level with what he can do. I have my critiques of his abilities as a quarterback, but for all those who say build a wall, of course. For this offense to do what it needs to do, the stronger you can get that O line, the better it is for Tua, the better it is for our offensive continuity. That's just my quick reflex answer.
Yeah.
Clayton is my favorite all-time Dolphin, so I'm kind of partial to that. But then you already have the equivalent with Tyreek and Waddle. I mean, really, they're almost as good, if not better. Um, Another duo that you didn't list, but that I would consider too is that first year pairing of damn it, 2 more Florida Gators. God damn, I'll take this back. But Lewis Oliver and Jarvis Williams. To me, they were a great safety duo for 2 years. Those first 2 years together.
Yeah,
Um,
Phin-Addict agrees with you.
yeah, yeah, man.
So, all right. So let me ask you this before we get to the Hall of Fame question. Now, this is the new question I debuted with you because I figured why not. Like
Okay.
I said, man, listen, I'm gonna give you your cigars. I don't believe in giving you your flowers. I'll give you your cigars. You know what I'm saying? So I learned that from Mace, by the way. Anyway, um, um, you
Well, you
know,
know that. Well, I appreciate and I definitely would accept the cigars, but in the P Diddy age, that might have a dual meaning, and I might say, hold up, what kind of cigars, man? Are you sure that's a cigar? But I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'll accept the cigars from Shake. You safe, dog. You good?
yeah, that's what's up. No, but no, man. You like I said, I've appreciated the support you've given me since I started this, and and your friendship has been invaluable to me, man. Like I said,
So
that tailgate is great. So right, we're gonna. It's kind of like a sort of Mount Rushmore. But if you were to put out a flyer for this year to sell this year's team, right? Who are uh, your four MVPs for next year? I mean, like who is your Mount Rushmore? Would you be your Mount Rushmore for the 2024 season?
I
Or
hate to
2020,
over.
I'm sorry, not 24, 2023 season. Yeah. So say 2022, 2023, no, 2023, 2024 season. Yeah.
Again, man. Again, this is the voice of a bitter Dolphin fan, right?
Yeah.
Admittedly, and I don't want to overcomplicate the answer.
Yeah.
But
By
how
the
I
way, this has been a great show, especially with the Mai Tais I've been drinking.
I need to get one of them. But how I would sell the team to the fans is different than the actual Mount Rushmore I would put up. To sell the team, I think you would have to put Tua on that Mount Rushmore, along with Tyreek and Waddle on either side, and that's enough to sell a lot of tickets and jerseys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Armstead behind them, right? Because he's a guy who's borderline Hall of Fame material at his position when healthy, right? And I
Yeah.
think the offense at this point is like the selling point of this Dolphins team. So they would dominate the Hall of Fame advertisement of the team. But if you ask me about who really needs to be on that Mount Rushmore,
Yeah.
right?
That's what I asked
You
you.
know, yeah, and that is definitely what you asked me, man. So I'd have to start in the trenches, man, and look at that center position, right? Connor Williams, if healthy, if he can make a comeback, I think he's very important to his ultimate success, right, and the solidity of our line. On the other side of the ball, I have to look at a guy like Zach Sealer. Can he fit those big shoes that are left by Christian Wilkins, or will we
Mhm.
see a slide in his production? I think he's a very important player for our defensive continuity going forward. Jalen Ramsey, right? His ability to lock down one side of the field. Is he too old? I think he's an essential player in our whole setup as well. So, I mean, uh, those critical players again are what will hold this team together. Ramsey, whoever our eventual center is, and that defensive tackle, that defensive line. Those are positions that have to remain solid for us. Um, but again, if I'm selling the team, it's a different
Yeah, I
combination.
got you. So let me ask you
Yeah,
this: we got two awards. We have the participation trophy and the MVP trophy. The MVP trophy for offense and participation trophy is just a player that just showed up, didn't do nothing, he just participated. On offense and defense, who are they?
the MVP on offense has to be Tyreek Hill, whose magnetism really allows everyone else opportunities, allows everybody else to boogie, including his quarterback. We saw that exemplified with the play he made as the only touchdown in the playoff game, right? I
Mhm.
mean, no other receiver is going to turn that play into a touchdown. Not even Justin Jefferson could do something like that. So MVP, most important guy as it stands right now, is Tyreek. MVP on the defensive side. Again, I tend to lean towards Jalen Ramsey at this point as the most important player, MVP of the defense. I think he should allow so much more flexibility um, from everyone else in that defensive backfield when you could just lock down number one receiving threat on the other team. As far as participation awards, who is the participant on the offense? Wow, you're gonna make me do this,
Yeah, go
Shake.
for it.
You know what it is, man. You know what it is, man. It's the guy being pulled up by the performance of everyone around him who has to have everything perfect in order to be effective. You know who it is.
Let me drink this before you answer.
Yeah.
Go
It's the
ahead.
it's the guy Tua himself, man. Participation trophy. I don't see him being decisive or making us tick by any means. And again, that's what gives me the title of Tua hater. I see him being carried by a lot of the ultra talented guys we have on the team. And even the way we even look at our O line, those guys are dependent to be the best O line in the league in order for him to be successful. The receivers got to be open by X amount of yards in order to get the ball. So I just think that we are a team that's totally positioned to coddle to this guy's success. Even by definition, coach came in before he could even touch down in Miami. He's on the phone with the guy saying, I've looked at your 400 best plays and I'm designing an offense. But come on, man. That ain't the kind of football. So, talk about participation. Yeah, it's number
Yeah.
one. I hate to say it, but it is what it is. Now, hey, on defense, who's riding the defense and participating and benefiting from the overall scheme of things? Wow, is it that guy on the carpet with his cat complaining about fans? Nah, I ain't gonna go there because he's actually pretty good. He's a good player. He's a good player. I know his attitude's very Canadian, very Canadian. Uh, so I ain't gonna go there. I ain't gonna go there. The guy's a good player. Man, I got a lot of respect for the guys on the defensive side of the ball, man. That effort that they put out the last couple of seasons has been tremendous. Even the guy that got a lot of stick in our community, Jerome Baker. I always felt he was out of position, but his heart and his effort was never in question. So it's hard for me to give him the participation trophy. Um, who else do we have? David Long, maybe? Nah.
A lot of people. What about Apple?
Oh yeah, Eli Apple. Eli. I understand why Eli Apple gets a lot of stick, but for the most part, his thing was just not get beat. I think that's all that what's the guy's name? Fangio asked him to do. Just don't let anybody get behind him. And for the most part, he did that. I think he took a lot of unfair criticism for how he played in that regard. He was not asked to be a shutdown corner. To me, him and JB Brown could be twins. For those who are old enough to remember JB Brown. but anyway, I laugh on my own joke on that one. But
That's not good.
yeah,
And
no, it's hard for me to come up with somebody who gets just a participation trophy
shout out
on
to Chef Jew.
defense.
Hey, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get Chef Jew in the blender. Like last year, he was on the blender when we did the when the schedule release. I'm gonna see if I can get him back again next year, man. Chef Jew in the building.
Oh yeah, Chef Jew's one of the OGs, man. Listen. Oh yeah, I got my guy. It's Cam Smith.
Okay,
Cam
Cam
Smith.
Smith.
Yeah,
He didn't
thank you,
even
thank you.
participate. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Does he even exist? I've heard about him. I've heard that he was Chris Greer's son's best friend, but other than that, I've never seen the guy. So
Yeah, join the family, man. And speaking of which, man, listen, I got this for Chef Jew in the building. Listen, while we're here, while Chef Jew is here, I want people to uh uh-huh. Give a shout out
yeah,
to Chef Jew's catering, man. This man has his own catering business. Chef Jew's catering. If you want cupcakes, listen, you having a barbecue this summer, 4th of July, hit up my man, Chef Jew. He's in the Tri-County area. Um, um, he's in Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade County. Let Chef Jew cook for you, man. This man has mouth-watering desserts. I had his cupcakes, delicious. 786-804. Listen, mention Shake Money. You get 10% off your first order, man. So you can't beat that, man. Listen, this guy is a real chef. He cooks from scratch and he cooks with heart. So, like I said, mention Shake Money and you get your 10% off your first order. So You can't beat that, bro.
Hey, have you ever had Chef Jew in the blender?
Yes, he was here last year. He was in season
Oh,
1.
okay. I got to go back and listen to that one, man, because
I'll send you the link for that one.
I had the pleasure of meeting Chef Jew at a Dolphin game. Him and Miss Finn's one time. Really cool dude, man. Really cool dude. A lot of
And
respect
by
for
the
him.
way, it was a 3. He's the only guest that I had that's gonna be on for 3 hours. It was a 3-hour episode. He talks about how he became a chef. He talks about how he played street football. I mean, the guy was gold, man. I love Chef Jew.
Well, yeah,
And
that's
he
what I was
talks about
wondering. I was
how he
wondering
got
if he.
married at the game. At
Yeah,
the
I remember
stadium,
that.
with Stephen Brown. Yeah, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. Chef Jew, he supported me, and I'm gonna support him because he's a pillar of this community.
Yeah, I wondered about his if he played football, what his background was relative to the game, and that's what I would have been interested in hearing. But yeah, man, I got maximum respect for Chef Jew, man. Big up. He's one of those guys, Shake, back when the Finsanities of the world were brave enough to be debating the Larry Ells and all them people. It was
Hmm.
BU, Color, Chef Jew. We were the trolls at that time. We were in the chat
Yeah.
consistently, but none of us were brave enough at the time to come on board the shows.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I remember that crew. And that was right at the formation of the Tuaneers, when that whole debate started prompting us to come up and get brave enough to get up on these shows. So big up to Chef Jew, man. Big up to all those chat folks. Raphael Courchard, I see you in there, man. The homie. Crypto, brother for life. Yes, sir.
No doubt, man. Chef Drew is, like I said, he's a pillar, man. He was on there for 3 hours, and like I said, I'll send you the link to the episode.
All right. Yeah, I'll take a listen to that. I'll take a listen to that.
Yeah, man. Like I said, he inspired me to he's a good dude, man. Like I said, that is probably one of the best episodes I've done. So,
Cool.
all right. So now, before we wrap this up, who is your Mount Rushmore of Miami Dolphins all time?
Oh, shaky now. Okay. Well, listen.
It could be coach, owner, player. So it doesn't matter.
All right. I'm gonna go players only on this one, and
Okay.
just to be correct, to be factual, I know I gave 3 and 3 on my other answer, but the real Mount Rushmore has 5 faces, if I remember correctly, right? So I need 5 Dolphin players.
Hey, 5-4. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, um, again, I don't want to be too nerdy, but I could go different ways with this. My heart versus my brain, but I'm just gonna give my heart. My 5 Dolphin players all time. You got to go with number 13, Dan Marino up there. It's blasphemy if you don't put him on there. Mark
Mhm.
Clayton's got to be there right next to him. Mark Clayton. It's right there next to him.
I tell you what, your first 4, and then the 5th one would be like an honorable mention. But go ahead.
Okay. So we got Marino, we got Clayton. Other players who I've just enjoyed, man. I was a big fan of Brian Cox, man. Brian Cox was the man.
He's the reason I'm a diehard Dolphin fan. Just so you know.
Oh yeah, man. I love, man, when he came in I think it was a 5th round draft pick and just started tearing people up, tearing shit up. Man, those were some legendary days, man. Brian
Hold on, real quick.
Cox. And I got one more spot.
Hold that thought real quick. There we go. No, that's not it. I know he's here somewhere. Oh, give me a second. Sorry.
No problem. So many players, man.
There we go. By the way, so you know, look, I only have 2 cards that are worth anything. The first one is this Glenn Rice rookie card and Brian Cox rookie card.
Yep.
So let's say Marino. Let's recap. Marino, Mark Cooper.
No, Clayton.
Mark Clayton
Clayton.
and Brian Cox. Go ahead.
Brian Cox. And then for the 4th spot, and this is hard because I got to stop at 4. It really is tough, man. but I gotta go with Zach Thomas, man. Zach had so much respect for Zach Thomas, way he played football, his effort. I got to give him maximum respect. But really, it's a shame, man, because I could give you an all-time starting 11 on both sides of the ball of Dolphins, man. Because I feel bad that I left out the Jeff Crosses of the world, the Lewis Olivers of the world. I feel bad that I've left out, people like again, Terry Kirby. I know many people may not like Kirby, but I was a big Kirby fan. Like I said earlier, Tony Page was a big favorite of mine. And some people might say, well, why not Keith Byers? I hate the way Keith Byers ran with them little ass steps. So anyway, I get Tony Page over Keith Byers, even though Keith Byers was probably better and replaced them. And so many.
You seen that picture, right?
Which one?
This one right here.
Yep, Zach, man. I couldn't take that picture, dude. I'd have to. I might cry if I met Zach Thomas, man. The man was a legend, man. What a great man, great Dolphin guy.
Capitan gave me that hat, and I had to retire it because it has Zach Thomas's autograph on there. Hall of Fame, by the way.
Oh yeah, deservedly so, man. I don't know if you remember my remarks when he was inducted, or we heard the news, man. That's a guy. He's got to be on my Mount Rushmore. You can't spell Miami Dolphin without Zach Thomas, even though that makes no sense. He to me he epitomizes the kind of toughness, the kind of effort, the kind of preparation. People don't give him credit for the prep that he would do. That you'd hope that every Dolphin player brings to the field. So many players, man. Like I said, man, I could give you a starting 11 on both sides if I had to. But yeah, those would be my four. And as far as the fifth an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see Rafael Cortite say Keith Jackson. I really was a fan of Keith Jackson when he was here, as well. But I have to go with Lewis Oliver, man. I was a big fan of Lewis Oliver, especially when he had that 99-yard interception return against Buffalo. Yeah, he was a great one. He couldn't play safety in today's NFL though, by any means. But back then, he would light your ass up, man. He would light you up. Everybody remembers Steven Atwater, but in that whole Steve Atwater era, Lewis Oliver was probably the second best free safety out there, and the second most physical behind Atwater. At the time, people tend to forget about it because, again, our team didn't get a Super Bowl. A Super Bowl was so key. If we had got a Super Bowl somewhere in the 90s, a lot of our guys' legacies as players would be that much more enhanced. But a lot of guys get overlooked. Even guys like Trace Armstrong had a great career here. Another Florida Gator. What was that defensive end we had? What was his name? Name escapes me right now. There's so many good players, man. Tim Bowens, Daryl Gardner. I already mentioned Jeff Cross. Tyrone. I wasn't around for the '70s, so I can't. Yeah, Sammy Knight, man. How about Gene Atkins? Guys like Sean Wooden. And as far as running backs, let's talk about the running back position. I was a big, keen student. I think Bobby Humphrey would have gone down and had a great career as a Miami Dolphin running back, but then he had that tragedy in Alabama. Right when he had a solid season with Dan Marino catching balls on the backfield and running, he'd come over from Denver, hot as a great running back prospect, and then had his career derailed by some shooting he was involved in. But Bobby Humphrey, Sammy Smith, Mark Logan, Bertie Parmalee, Tony Nathan, Ron Davenport, all of these guys, man. I watched them. Keely, Mark Higgs, Troy Stratford's AFC East Rookie of the Year. Man, I was a big Troy Stratford fan. Marco Colvin. Yeah, man.
All right, listen. All right, I'm gonna bring one. Before we go, I'm gonna bring this back. I did last year. I did the Ultimate 53. I mean the Ultimate team, right? So you pick the form offense, defense. So the offense, what offense formation or would you run?
Like I said, man, I'm nostalgic. And hey, I see Tyrone Hall's comment about the '70s Dolphins. Unfortunately, I'm not old enough to have watched those guys play. I came
Yeah.
in with the Killer Bees, the Killer Bee defense. That was like my
Mhm.
first main memory of the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But
Kimbo
as far,
Camper.
yeah, those guys, Brudzinski, Baumhauer. That's kind of when mentally I latched on to the Dolphins. So unfortunately, I can't go back to those great '70s teams. Although I know the history of Zonka, Mercury Morris, Jim Kick, Manny Fernandez, Larry Little, who I got to
Yep.
meet just
And by the
recently.
way,
So yeah,
I had Andrevius on here. He said him and Larry Little were on the same fraternity. Were you in the same fraternity as Larry Little?
man. Unfortunately, I went to FIU at a time when we had
The real you, by
no
the way.
yeah, when we had no fraternities. I was part of a crew that tried to, get some chapters started out there, but it was a little bit early for that. This is way before FIU had a football team, so I'm not a member of any fraternity right now. But I'll tell you what about Larry Little though. I met him because, well, maybe I'm divulging too much information. Let's just say his grandson was somebody I had the honor of mentoring for many years. And his grandson, again, I don't want to get too personal with it, but it's
Yeah.
gone on. He was one of the best track athletes in long distance running in Dade County in recent years. Went on to have tremendous success in college, running track. And this is so through my relationship with the grandson, I got to meet the great Larry Little. So props to the Little family.
And the little
I
people.
know his granddaughter as well is somebody who I know who I'm proud to say is going to attend college with my youngest daughter really soon. So these are
That's
people
what's
who
up.
are like family, but I don't want, I don't want to divulge too much. But
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
yeah, Larry Little's the man. He's the man. And if you see Larry Little, if you meet him, you'd be like, man, how could you play the O line? Because he's not that tall. But it was a different era. It was a different football era. He's a big guy, but he's dwarfed by like the stature of NFL linemen today. You know, is what you might
What's funny
notice.
is,
Yeah.
um, I'll never forget. I'm gonna be doing a deep dive on the AFL. All right, the
Yeah.
AFL, and let me see if I have. Well, at any rate, the AFL, because they couldn't get a lot of players, they they drafted um, Lloyd Wells was the first black general manager for the AFL.
Okay.
Uh, and I think Buck Buchanan or something like that. I forgot what it was. He was the very first black overall pick. And what happened was, so there was a lot of you HBCUs being recruited in the AFL because they needed talent back in those days. A lot of the players went to the NFL. Essentially, the AFL was like the XFL back in those days. You know what I'm saying?
hmm Well, hey, listen. One of the biggest tragedies of American history and culture has been
But
like
Lloyd Wells was the first black general manager.
yeah, has been the way the socially created construct of race has perverted the greater potential of everything American in its history. And one of the ways this has happened has been in football. When one considers, the greatness of the sport and the greatness of the camaraderie and meritocracy that it is, it's cheapened a bit by those years when, racial considerations prevented certain players from getting an opportunity at the highest level. And it's regrettable. It should be regrettable, and hopefully you've learned those lessons. But that's not a surprise. That so many great players came from HBCUs and from the AFL. some are old enough to tell you. I'm not, although I've learned that it is the success of FAMU and whooping up on the University of Miami in the late 70s that opened up to finally recruiting black players from South Florida who at that time only could find opportunities at HBCUs like Bethune-Cookman, where Larry Little went, or FAMU, where a host of players. And they, when given the chance to go up against, at the time, the PWI, principally white University of Miami, gave them a licking. I think it was the 1978 season. And who was there watching it? The guy Schellen, was the coach? Coach Schellenberger. And Schellenberger said at the time, after seeing FAMU whoop up on that, hey, we need some of these players over at the U. And that actually opened up the University of Miami to doing what it did and became in the 80s. So another example of how, the American curse of race, kind of frustrated the potential greatness of an American institution. Again, I don't want to get too political on your show,
Yeah, I
Shake,
got you, bro.
but hopefully this country and its people have learned that lesson. And hey, I'll die on that rock.
All right. By the way, man, so just to recap, your Hall of Fame is Dan Marino, Mark Clayton, Zach Thomas, and Brian Cox.
Yes, sir.
And who's the fifth honorable mention?
Louis Oliver.
Louis Oliver. Hell yeah.
Among greats, among many greats.
And by the way,
again, those. Mm-hmm.
51 has Gator connections. 51. Brian Cox Jr.
Yeah, his son went.
Yeah, and Louis and Mike Pouncey, another Gator.
Another Gator.
I don't listen. At the end of the day, look, I one of my mottos is what you do on Saturdays doesn't affect what happens on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? Like Jalen Phillips. I'm a Jalen Phillips fan now.
Yeah, even though he went to the best school in the world, the U, after transfer from California. Yeah, I'm only messing with you, Shake, man. That UF stuff, I really.
I know. I was gonna say, you know why they call it the U, right?
Why? Because they're so great.
No, because the Canes players can't spell university.
Man, see, that's another misnomer. Man. I've had the honor of knowing a lot of Miami Hurricanes players over the years, and way back in the year, I was even invited to a recruitment event back when my prospects were higher in the sport. Never got anywhere close to getting an offer though, just to be honest. But listen, Rohan Marley is a guy who I saw firsthand destroy folks down south with the physicality, even for the small package. He was one of my heroes coming up, and he defined himself at the U. Another guy, Tony Gator from Killian. To this day, if you talk to people in the know at the U, one of the fastest guy, if not the fastest guy, faster than Devin Hester, faster than Randall Hill, faster than Santana Moss. If you talk to people who know, they'll tell you Tony Gator is the fastest man to ever play for the University of Miami. Damn. Miami Killian High. Yep, you can look it up. Tony Gator is his name. Tony Gator II, not to be confused with his son, Tony Gator III, who went on to become, I think, FIU's greatest wide receiver in the history of that program in terms of yardage or whatever. So there's been a lot of great Tony Gators. And there's a whole Miami Killian High School legacy to the Miami Dolphins. I get into it if you want, but, we'll leave that one alone. Yeah.
So before we get into our final thoughts real quick.
Yes, sir.
If, let's say, for instance, you would have chose Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas, right? Who would you you have Chubb and you have Phillips. Who would you, Jason Taylor, you had to replace either Chubb or Phillips, who would it be? So you can play next to Jason Taylor. On the other side of Jason Taylor, who would it be?
I think Chubb's got to go.
Chubb's got to go?
Yeah, I mean, Chubb is legit. I mean, I'm on record as talking about the pedigree he brings to the position, size, speed, ratio. Unfortunately, injuries have curtailed his potential to some degree. Same, it could be argued for Jalen Phillips. But when you look at Jalen Phillips' dynamic quality to his game, that acceleration, right? Man, he would eat like Adewale Agunleye next to Jason Taylor. You know what I'm saying? Remember how those seasons Adewale Agunleye had? Because Jason Taylor was a force on that right side. If you put Jalen Phillips opposite of JT, man, Jalen Phillips is sending quarterbacks to the hospital. He's sending them to the clinic, Mayo Clinic. Come save them quarterbacks. They get the Joe Theismann treatment. Jalen Phillips would eat them guys. So I like Chubb. I hope he could come back from his injury and be productive. But I have more hope for Jalen Phillips at this stage. Yeah.
No doubt. So, what are your final thoughts, my brother? And let me say thank you once again. I appreciate you. This was a great episode. Not because I drowned two Mai Tais, but I mean, I appreciate your support. Like I said, this is fun for me. This is, to be honest with you, this is why I don't do therapy anymore. This is my therapy, man. And I appreciate the time you've given me, man. And everybody who's been in the blender with me. I really, from the bottom of my heart, I'm not trying to be famous like these other guys like TD and the other guys, the prominent guys in this community. I'm just trying to, branch out, meet people, and, let people, tell their story on how they became a Dolphin fan. So,
I appreciate the opportunity, man. This has been fun, man. It's been great to get into, express myself relative to all things Dolphins and all things football. It's been great. I just want to give a shout out to you, Shake, your lovely fiance, and blessings to your impending marriage, right? Also want to give a shout out to Larry K for hosting and creating the platform. Larry K, as he knows, I got a lot of respect for what he does. I know he's a busy guy and can't, be here all the time, right? But I think his takes are among the most solid in our Dolphins community. So maximum respect to Larry K for the platform. And Shake, you're more than able steward of his platform. So props to you. I want to give props to, all the Dolphin fans who come into the chat and mix it up, when we debate all things Fins. Even folks like CB83, man. I'm said to be a CB83 hater, but I support a guy like that trying to make his way. Just wish he'd be more honest with all, in his Dolphin takes. But
He went to one of the more popular HBCUs, Howard University.
The Harvard of the HBCUs, Howard University, man. I mean, like I said, we could talk about it if you want, but I got a lot of respect for him just for that affiliation alone. So props to him, props to EM, props to, like I said, Crypto Color, the whole gang. I really got to give a props to El Capitan, not just for the platform he's put up, but for his bravery in sticking to his vision for the platform in terms of letting it be a sounding board for all points of views. So yeah, man, it's a fun community to be a part of. I've learned from so many of you out there. And I love going back and forth with you guys. And so cheers to all of you and more years of arguments to come,
No doubt, man. And like I said, one of the things I pride myself is whether you believe in Tua, don't believe in Tua, I believe in the fact that I'm a neutral party, and I allow people to speak their opinion, because at the end of the day, this is football and it's not that serious.
Yeah, it's it's a pastime. And life is hard enough as it is, man. Football is an escapism type of thing. As fans, it takes our mind off of whatever we got going on in our lives. I'm honored to have played the game, right, which gives me, I think, a depth of understanding, that I'm always reflective on. So yeah, man, football. I love football and love to be a member of this community.
So, all right, man. As I take this swig, any final thoughts before I take this final swig?
I think I said as much as I could say at this point, man. I did want to say this. Again, props to you for bringing me up here, and for the other people who've been mentioned. I just want to, I don't know. I think I missed.
Appreciate you, Raphael.
Yeah. I just want to speak up for fans like me, right, who may not be typical football fans in other parts of the country, but are certainly representative of the uniqueness of our Miami Dolphins football community. Man, I love hearing all the diverse voices. We Latin American immigrants have adopted this culture and sport too, and contributed to it in ways that have enriched the game and the culture around it. And so I just try to be a representative of that whenever I'm talking football. So, yeah, man, that's it, man.
All right, man. So, anyway, fins up, everybody. You want to hang out for a few minutes backstage? I want to pick your brain. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
All right, man. So, fins up, everybody. I appreciate y'all for hanging out with us for like an hour and 50 minutes. And KP, I am honored to call you a friend. So.
Oh, the honor is shared, man. The honor is likewise, dude. Back at you, man.
All right, man. Fins up, everybody.
I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all